So welcome to day 18 of Going Analogue, and welcome to our shiny new studio. Today is a question and answer session. Really looking forward to this because my mate Pete is actually going to be appearing on our fantastic plasma in a moment or so. Before we bring him on here, I just want to introduce myself very, very briefly. My name is Mark Copeman. I've been working with Pete to bring you this course over the last few weeks. Really hope you've enjoyed it. The response has been fantastic. The comments, the questions, we're really delighted that we've put this on, and we've got a whole bunch of people waiting in the wings to join us next time round. So thank you very much indeed for your enthusiasm. But today is question and answers as we come to the end of the direct mail module. We start in a couple of days' time on the final module talking about postcards, which is a really cool thing, but I won't spoil that for you. But today we wanted to sort of talk through questions across all the things that we've been learning over the last few weeks. So without further ado, I'd like to bring the fabulous Pete Williams onto the screen. Pete, how are you doing?
Very well, Mark. Very, very well, mate. This is pretty cool.
And I should also add, Pete, he won't like me saying this, but Pete did get engaged earlier this week, and so, mate, I want to say congratulations. You are enjoying being an engaged man.
I am, mate. I was didn't really think through the back end of the proposal, in that the house is now already covered in wedding magazines, and we're having to already do the guest list so we can work out how big a venue we need and all this sort of stuff. I didn't really think through, so it's been interesting the last couple of days.
Fantastic. All right, well, look, let's get into the questions. There have been plenty of questions sent through to us. Some of them have been quite personal, well, not personal about Pete, but personal with regards to people's niches. And so we're not going to take those on air here today, but instead we're going to go and sort of focus on some of the more generic ones that we've been sent in. So Pete, the first one for you, which I thought was a fantastic question, and I can't believe you actually know the answer to this, but what is the best day to send out a direct mail piece?
Look, it's a weird sort of question, because realistically the only correct answer is to test it, because everyone's sort of niche is different and certain things operate differently in certain business units and different niches, of course. Fundamentally, the rule of thumb that I've heard is Tuesdays and Wednesdays as a delivery day is the best day. So you have to sort of work backwards from that to work out roughly, it might be 2 or 3 days postage in your local area, then it might take 3 or 4 days for the distribution house to actually print and send the mailing out if you're not doing it yourself. So the best thing is to try and get it there on a Tuesday and Wednesday, and then just work backwards from there. But that's just sort of a rule of thumb that a lot of people speak about. But again, realistically, like everything, unfortunately my answer is just going to be test it for yourself.
Absolutely, testing is everything. I actually heard that about email as well. If you're trying to pitch to somebody on email, a Tuesday is often a good time to do it, or send it last thing on a Monday night, so it's the first thing they see on a Tuesday morning. So that's good advice. Now, another question which has come up, there's been some sort of unethical direct mail practices going on, and someone's asked a question about the fact they received an invoice, what they thought was an invoice, for a particular product or service. But actually, that invoice wasn't an invoice, and actually it was a pretty shady press release or piece of direct mail to get somebody to buy something. What's your take on that?
Yeah, this is getting more and more common, unfortunately, and it happens quite a bit in the domain space, actually, which is kind of funny given we're talking about offline marketing for internet marketers, and domains and that sort of stuff is such an important part of our business. And what was happening, and I literally received one in our office probably 3 weeks ago or so, and it was basically an invoice to renew our domain name. Now, the issue is that the actual person or the company sending that invoice wasn't actually our host or our domain registrar. It was someone who's actually trying to be a bit sneaky and send us an invoice, which fundamentally is a high-priced renewal invoice, which also means we're going to actually transfer our domain from our current registrar over to them. So rather than paying $8.95 a year for the domain, or whatever it might be you're paying, their invoice is like for $69. So it's quite a big jump in what your domain renewal cost should be. But for a lot of businesses, that lands on the accountant's desk or the business owner's desk, and they are none the wiser. They're not as educated as us. And what's happening is they're just paying that invoice to ensure their domain doesn't go away. and what's happening is it's transferring the domain across to the other person. It's still registered in your name and all that sort of stuff from that perspective of being legal, but it's very grey and it's very sort of trying to be deceptive in the way they're doing marketing. So I think that's a very bad branding perspective, and it's very rare that I actually ever use the word branding, but you don't really want to do that, because I know, if you sort of push the envelope, pardon the pun, too far, you'll actually find that you could end up in some serious legal trouble by sort of doing some deceptive marketing, because again, particularly in Australia, that's against the Trade Practices Act and is most cases around the world.
So I guess to expand on that a little bit, just the whole idea of trying to trick people into buy is a bad idea in your eyes.
Very, very short term looking at the way you're doing your marketing realistically in that perspective, because you're hoping you build a community of prospects and clients and fans who are going to be with you for years. And if you're trying to sort of get that one hit type sale, are you really building a business, or just trying to get a quick load of cash? And realistically, to sort of have something sustainable and leverageable and bigger than you, it's got to be a business, not a project, so to speak.
Sure. So just coming on to that theme, so longevity as a theme. We've had another question, which is about how often you should update your direct mail package or piece or artwork or whatever. What's your thinking on that?
Yeah, look, there's a short answer and there's a long answer. The short answer is until it becomes unprofitable. Realistically, there's no reason you should stop mailing something until it becomes unprofitable. I think a good example of that is Gary Halbert's personal crest letter. I don't know what it's generally referred to, but I think if you just Google Gary Halbert and crest letter, it's a letter that he wrote years ago, telling or selling people a A4 piece of paper explaining their family history and a printed photo of their family crest. And it was like a 1 or 2 page sales letter that was mailed, I think, 200,000 times or 20 million times, something ridiculous. I think it might be 20 million, something just ridiculously stupid. And it was mailed for years and years and years and years. And the reason it was mailed so often is because it was profitable. And so many people as business owners, whether it be your AdWords ad or your website itself or your opt-in page, or particularly with direct mail, as the business owner or the entrepreneur, you kind of get sick of looking at it yourself. And you're like, look, I want to do something new because, look, it looks tired and dated. But realistically, it's probably only tired and dated because you've looked at it every day for 364 days. Whereas if you're mailing it properly and you're doing your marketing properly, whether it be a website or a direct mail piece, it's new prospects seeing this. It's new eyeballs looking at the stuff you're marketing. So to them, it's still fresh. So don't just change stuff because you're personally sick of it. And that's something that it's hard to get over, particularly if you've got a big ego and that sort of stuff. You really have to get yourself away from that and market by the numbers. And I think that's a whole conversation to have, is that you really should be growing your business and marketing by the numbers, not by emotions. You sell using emotions, and you market in terms of the communication pieces have to be emotional. But when you make decisions, it's got to be by the numbers. So really you should only stop mailing something once it becomes unprofitable.
So that comes back to being able to track and measure at the end of the day,
exactly,
as opposed to relying on gut feel.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to measure something, otherwise you can't manage it. And that's sort of in one of the videos we did recently was I covered how to actually use Google Analytics tracking to actually track your offline results. And by using that customizable URL, you can get any sort of web traffic that comes to your site based off some offline marketing, trackable. Again, if you're doing a radio interview as part of your PR campaign, give out a unique URL. It might be dogtrainingsecrets.org/CNBC. And that way, you mentioned that while you're on CNBC, so it ties back into the pitch you're doing or the interview you're doing there. And then that just does a quick redirect through a Google tracking code like we spoke about in that other session. And then you can see in your analytics how many people actually came to your site off the back of that interview.
Okay, cool. All right, let's just change tack slightly. We've got another question. I have to say I've got absolutely no idea what this is, so you're going to have to help me out here. I've heard of the term endorsed mailings.
Yep.
What is that, and how does it work?
Yeah, cool. Well, endorsed mailings is basically the original term prior to the internet of affiliate marketing or JV marketing. In that, right now you look at all the big launches going on in the internet marketing space, it's all about someone else mailing on your behalf and promoting you as an affiliate. And fundamentally, all they're doing is endorsing you and emailing on your behalf. Now, historically, what that used to happen in the real world was these endorsed mailings. And what it was, for example, you might be, let me try and think of a good example. You might be a gardener. So you might have been in the real world, you do gardening, you mow people's lawns, you plant their trees, you trim their roses, whatever it might be. And then what you might do, you want to get some more exposure. So you team up with a painter. And you say to that painter, well, look, every time, every month I want to grab your most recent clients and I want you to mail endorsing my business. And I'll do the same for you. So that painter sends out a direct mail campaign to their clients who they've already got rapport with. So the open rate's going to be very, very high. The readability is going to be very, very high. And also the response rates will be very, very high because that painter already has a relationship with their clientele and their prospects. And that the letter is simply a letter saying, hi, I'm Bill the painter. Hope your roof's still looking fantastic. But what I wanted to share with you is a friend of mine, Tom. Now, Tom's a great gardener, and look, he does some fantastic work, and he actually did some work recently for a couple of clients of mine. They had their house painted, and they thought, well, let's take it to the next step to really make the house shine and stand out on the street. And Tom came in and did a great garden for them, and he actually gave them a 20% discount. So I was having a beer with Tom at the RSL club the other day, and we had a chat, and we thought, well, look, I should really offer that 20% to all my customers who have had their painting done in the last 2 months. And then, I've also enclosed a brochure of Tom's so you get an idea of some of Tom's work. Hope you enjoy it. Again, if you need any more painting work, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you take up Tom's special offer. And basically then, obviously, Tom would then do that to the painting clients. So it's basically an affiliate JV scenario offline. So think about, maybe you can find someone who has, maybe you're teaching, let's say, crochet or knitting. Go to your local knitting store and say, look, I want to actually have an endorsed mailing. I want to pay you or work out some sort of joint venture scenario where you say, hey, I'd love you to actually mail your database a link to my free ebook. And it's a letter that they say and they endorse, and they maybe put a couple of printed pages of the ebook, and they send traffic to your website because they've endorsed you. And then maybe what you can do on your website is then offer a special, hey guys, this store over here has a great sale. If you give them a call, they'll actually sell you knitting needles at their cost price, and all you have to do is pay shipping, and they'll ship anywhere in the world. Something like that. And it's a great way to sort of just leverage other people's relationships. So rather than just buying a list in a database and mailing them cold, that endorsed mailing fundamentally means it's a mailing that's been endorsed by someone who already has a relationship with the recipient.
I'm going to sum that up in the fact that people buy from people at the end of the day. That's what business is all about. But that's a really nice application of taking something which is working online and back in the offline world. Although I suspect affiliate marketing started in the offline world. Of course it did. So I guess it's only natural. Yeah,
everything this is the thing that I think I'd love people to really think about for themselves is that as they are learning a new internet marketing technique, think about what the origins of that technique were. Everything that's taught in the internet marketing community has its origins in direct response marketing, which was born offline. So everything that you were taught, JV stuff, article syndication is obviously what we spoke about in getting your articles syndicated in real world magazines. Getting people to write articles about you and give you backlinks and stuff like that. That is just PR in its original form. Obviously, email marketing is just the digital form of direct mail, endorsed mailings, affiliate, and postcards we're talking about in the next module is all basically autoresponder sequences offline, very, very cost effectively. So there's a lot of other stuff that people learn as part of their internet marketing scenario that is adapted from the offline world. Jeff Walker's product launch formula is simply just how to launch a product, and the movie industry have been doing that, launching movies offline for years. They give a little snippet, they give out some little excerpts of the movie leading up to the movie, some interviews here and there, and then bang, it's opening weekend and they do $62 million. That's all a launch is just something that Jeff has actually taken and molded into an internet, using internet tools to do the exact same thing that the movie industry and the publishing industry have been doing for years. Books, for example, quite often a book's coming out, you can find excerpts and sample chapters in Reader's Digest and business magazines and that sort of stuff leading up to the book being released. Tim Ferriss just did it recently with The 4-Hour Body.
Mate, sound advice, really good stuff there. Come to another question, a question about the dear old fax machine, believe it or not. You've spoken about using it for getting noticed amongst editors and so on, and distributing those press releases. What about using the fax machine, if you have one, and if other people do, for a direct mail campaign?
Look, very good question. Again, I'm going to give this the canned response first, test it, and see how it works in your niche. But look, I think it works very, very well from a B2B perspective. I don't know how many people have a fax machine in their home anymore. There was a time when everyone seemed to have a fax machine in their home before email, back in the, around in the mid to late 90s. I remember we had a fax machine as I was growing up, and a lot of people did for whatever reason, I'm not too sure really. But I think it works from a great B2B perspective because businesses still have fax machines for contracts and application forms and that sort of stuff. And I do know a lot of people are making some good money with lead generation type campaigns using fax. I don't know anyone who's selling over fax, but I've found some great lead generation stories of people in Australia. They're doing what are they selling? It's very more analog type products like solar panels. Is huge at the moment. There's a lot of factors going around Australia from various companies about lead generation for solar panels and office cleaning and stuff like that. So it can definitely work, but I think it's more of a B2B medium, and it's something you just want to test, and it's a very cheap, cost-effective way to test.
Great stuff, mate. I've got another question here about Frank Kern, in fact, the master of all things online, but he's now talking about using direct mail to sell his high-end coaching courses. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, look, the stuff that I've heard that Frank's doing, and he shared this in San Diego last year, is that he's using a lot of direct mail to sell to his existing clients, his high-end coaching programs, his one-on-one launch management, and some of his mastermind programs and stuff like that. And it's working extremely well for him, and I think he's sort of shifting a lot of his marketing towards offline stuff this year, in that he's doing things like he'll get his addresses of people who have ordered some products. He might sell them a cheap DVD or as a lead generation tool, cover the cost, and he gets their mailing address. And he's basically doing that solely to actually get their contact details that he can then mail. So he'll give a DVD away for the cost of shipping, $4.95, covers the cost of postage and shipping with someone like disc.com or Kanaki, which was mentioned in a previous session. And then once he has that physical address, he's hammering them with direct mail pieces because it's more effective than anything else, because everyone, all the gurus, are sending out email blasts by the day these days, whereas no one's actually sending out mail. So it really differentiates him, and it's apparently working exceptionally well for him to actually get high-end clients. So I really encourage people to think about how they can actually offer some sort of, rather than doing a video for free for 45 minutes to their list, say, hey, here's a DVD, it costs you $3. And obviously there's people who are willing to part with $3 to get you information. Obviously buyers, it helps qualify them, and then you have their address to sort of do some postcard marketing or direct mail for your high-end products.
I mean, that all just comes back to doing things differently. I love that. There's nothing like, I just think it's such a bad idea to follow the crowd. Try and just find new ways of creating attention. It's a really cool idea.
Absolutely.
Now look, they're kind of run out of time for questions now, but I know there's something you wanted to share, a quick case study which you just wanted to run through. Yeah,
something, it's a little old, it's not that old actually, but it's a direct mail piece that got a lot of press here in Australia. Now, let me say that again, it was a direct mail piece that got a lot of press and publicity here in Australia. A little controversial, but highly effective. So I thought I'd share you guys and tell you guys about it, just so you can sort of see what the possibilities are, and it's quite interesting and might shock some of you. It was, this is the envelope. I don't know if you can really see that too well, but it was a non-addressed mailer, so there's no actual personalised address on the front of this. It was just bulk mailed to pretty much everyone in Australia, I think, or I know a lot of people who received this. And it's a handwritten envelope on the front, and it just appeared in the mailbox. And let me read to you what it says. Dear Billy, spelt B-I-L-L-E-Y, I was wondering if I can get a job here. I can do jobs like mowing, mopping, and the dishes. I was wondering if $5 a day is enough to get, because my mum does not have enough. So please can I get a job? Signed, Christopher. And it's clearly in like a young boy's handwriting with a few spelling mistakes and stuff like that. So obviously it got people's attention very, very quickly in terms of who's sending me, personal handwritten mailing. And if you look at the way they printed it, it looks like someone's actually just written directly on the envelope. And, you know, it looks like it's been in grey lead or pencil. And it's like, okay, firstly, there's no address mailing, so it looks a bit different. It looks like someone's actually personally dropped in your mailbox deliberately. And it's got Dear Billy, so you're going to go, oh, hang on, someone's obviously meant to hand deliver this to somebody and they put it in the wrong address. So you want to sort of figure out what's going on to try and help, because it's a kid's handwriting on here. Then you take the time to read the message and it just pulls at the heartstrings. This young kid wants $5 a day to do dishes and mowing because his mum doesn't have enough money. So my girlfriend, well, fiance now, as you mentioned earlier, actually went to get the mail downstairs from our apartment one day and brought this back and hadn't opened it yet, but was just like, oh my God, check this out. And she's such a softie. And look, it grabbed us both. And then when you open it up, it's actually a direct mail piece from the Salvation Army for their Red Shield appeal. And there's like a postage mailer back. And this is sort of no stamp is required type mailing that I mentioned in one of the earlier sessions, that although I can just now send this right back in the mail, the Salvation Army won't have to pay for this unless it is mailed, because they'll do the tracking based on that little code there. So that's a way to reduce your upfront investment for return mailers. There's the response card there, which is simply, yes, I want to help care for families in crisis, and then there's, the different options and all your contact details, and some more heartstrings being pulled on the back there with some facts and stuff. And then there's the actual sales letter that comes inside the mailing. And let me read this to you really quickly. Dear friend, who I hope can help. You don't expect a 7-year-old child to apply for a job, especially for a job at the Salvation Army Crisis Centre. Yet, that's what young Christopher did. That's his application letter you would have seen printed on the envelope, exactly as he wrote it. In his letter, he's ready to do mopping and mowing and dishes, all for $5 a day, because mum doesn't have enough. Christopher was at the Salvo Crisis Centre because his mum was being beaten by his dad. Christopher was being abused too, and it goes on to talk about the family ran away, but nothing better. Billy, who is obviously the mailing's addressed to, the manager of our crisis centre, says his typical children have witnessed violence, and goes on to sort of say that sort of stuff. And basically, it's a letter that this kid wrote to Billy after he met Billy at the crisis centre, saying, I need some money for my mum, please help me out. And it goes on to say a lot, and it's a really well-written marketing piece, and it was very, very successful for the Salvation Army in that it got the open rates, and it pulled heartstrings and got a lot of donations. But from a press perspective, it actually gave them a little bit of a kickback in that obviously they really went pretty hard at the jugular in terms of sort of people started talking it about as deceptive marketing because it looks like something, and it's Salvation Army just trying to pitch money and all that sort of stuff. But realistically, it was very, very effective for the business to actually raise quite a lot of money. And I thought I'd just share that with everyone in terms of the envelope and the sales that they use and the techniques they actually put together to make this complete campaign a very, very effective direct mail piece.
Mate, that's great. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah, it was interesting.
And again, I think daring to be different is such a great idea. If you
Absolutely.
can think of ways to just think outside the box without being too crazy, you'll get noticed, and that's a cracking example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, I really enjoyed this. It's been great. I hope everyone watching has enjoyed it. It's not just for us to enjoy. Thanks so much for your time, mate, and for everything that you've done over the last few weeks. In 2 days' time, session number 19 will arrive. Day number 19 will arrive as we start this very cool concept of postcard marketing, which Pete's already alluded to. So we'll almost certainly do this again before the end of the course. I think that would be quite a cool idea.
Sounds great.
But it kind of relies on questions from you out there. So please put them in. As you see, we do go through them. Pete's well up for answering them. And once again, mate, thank you.
Not a problem at all. No, welcome. And also too, don't forget everybody, if you really, really want to get some personal responses and stuff, just shoot the emails through, and I'll personally respond to them if there's a specific question about your business or your niche that you don't want to sort of be publicised. Just let me know, and I'll happily, give you some direct feedback on your direct mail campaign or your press releases or whatever can help you guys out.
How about that? Fantastic. And he's been doing that for plenty of people already. So that's it for today. We'll see you in a couple of days' time on day 19.